The neon haze of the city seeped through the cracked window of Lila's cramped apartment, casting a sickly pink glow against the peeling paint and stained furniture. Alex stood silently by the door, watching her with a mixture of concern and exhaustion. The past week had aged her beyond her years. Dark circles framed her sharp eyes, which darted constantly, as if expecting the shadows themselves to reach out and drag her into oblivion. "They're everywhere," Lila whispered, voice trembling as she clutched her phone tighter. The screen alive with a torrent of notifications. Threatening messages, cryptic warnings, and digital graffiti tagged with menacing symbols flooded her social media. "I can't escape it, Alex. No matter where I go. It's like they're watching, waiting." Alex rubbed his temples, feeling the familiar burn of fatigue behind his eyes. Protecting Lila was becoming a Sisyphean task. Every step forward was met with two more threats. More eyes lurking in the digital and physical shadows. He had doubled their security protocols, hacked into surveillance feeds, and tried to trace the origin of the harassment. But the deeper he dug, the more labyrinthian the network became. The city itself seemed complicit in their torment. The omnipresent glow of holographic billboards flickered ominously, blaring fragmented true crime live streams that blurred the line between reality and entertainment. Crowds gathered around public screens, eyes glazed with morbid fascination, feeding the insatiable appetite for spectacle. It was a culture addicted to death, and Lila was the next star on their cruel stage. One night, as rain hammered against the grimy windows, Lila's phone erupted with a new wave of threats. She collapsed onto the threadbare couch, sobbing silently. Alex sank beside her, offering what little comfort he could. "We'll get ahead of this," he promised, but even he doubted those words. Outside, the city pulsed with life, the distant wail of sirens, the hum of hovercars slicing through wet air, the chatter of crowds oblivious to the nightmare unfolding in a lonely apartment. Alex's mind raced. He knew the threats weren't random. They were orchestrated, part of a larger machinery designed to break her spirit and heighten viewer engagement. As Lila's paranoia deepened, her trust in Alex wavered. She recoiled from his protective gestures, fearing that any connection might hasten her demise. The invisible enemy was winning, feeding on fear and isolation. Determined, Alex ventured into the city's underbelly, chasing shadows and whispers. Neon lights reflected off rain-slicked pavement as he pursued fleeting figures and digital ghosts. His senses sharpened. Every sound, every movement could be a threat or a clue. The line between hunter and hunted blurred. Back at the apartment, a rare moment of calm allowed a fragile conversation. Over bitter coffee and stale cigarettes, they shared fears and hopes, vulnerabilities laid bare amidst the chaos. The city's relentless hum pressed against the walls, a constant reminder of the spectacle beyond their fragile sanctuary. But with every passing hour, the noose tightened. The digital world's addiction to death as entertainment was a monster that fed on fear and spectacle, and Lila was its latest prey. Alex faced a grim truth. To protect her, he might have to become the very thing he despised, a participant in the Killstream. The chapter closes with Alex standing watch by the window, eyes scanning the rain-drenched streets, heart pounding with resolve and dread. Somewhere out there, the invisible enemy waited, and so did the world, hungry and watching. The rain had started again, a cold, insistent drizzle that blurred the neon lights into streaks of violet and cyan across the wet pavement. Alex Mercer hunched beneath the flickering glow of a massive digital billboard, the city's heartbeat pulsing in electric rhythms above him. Around him, the streets were alive with the restless energy of a population hooked on the latest true crime frenzy. A live-stream murder set to air in less than an hour. Alex's breath fogged in the chill night air as he pulled his jacket tighter, eyes darting to the glowing countdown ticking down on his wrist device. The city had transformed into a theater of obsession, where every screen flickered with the promise of violence and spectacle. This was no ordinary crime wave. It was a meticulously orchestrated broadcast, a morbid carnival that fed the masses their daily dose of thrill and terror. Inside his cramped apartment, the clutter of monitors bathed the room in an otherworldly glow. Alex's fingers hovered over a keyboard, scanning live social feeds and encrypted chatter. Lila's face appeared on every feed, her sharp green eyes haunted by the knowledge of her impending fate. She was no longer just a client. She was a symbol of a society spiraling into darkness. As the livestream began, the chatter crescendoed into a frenzy. Thousands of viewers tuned in, their faces illuminated by screens. Their reactions a disturbing blend of excitement and numb fascination. Alex felt the weight of their collective gaze, a digital jury whose verdict was death itself. The scene on screen was brutal and unrelenting. Every sound, every movement was broadcast live. The victim's fear, the cold precision of her attackers. The crowd's virtual roar swelling with each passing second. Alex's stomach churned as he watched the public's voyeurism reach its zenith. The boundary between empathy and entertainment utterly obliterated. In the aftermath, silence settled like a shroud. Alex shut down his screens and stepped into the night. The city's fog wrapped around him, suffocating and thick. He could almost hear the distant echo of the digital applause, a sickening reminder that this was just another episode in an endless series of horrors. Yet beneath the despair, a fierce resolve ignited within him. The stakes had never been clearer. To fight this system was to confront not just corrupt corporations or shadowy puppeteers, but the very nature of a society addicted to watching death unfold like a twisted spectacle. Alex pulled his hood low, disappearing into the labyrinth of rain-soaked alleys. The public's eye was watching, but so was he, and he would do everything in his power to shatter the screen that held them captive. The war for truth and humanity was only beginning. Alex Mercer sat in the center of his cramped apartment, a fortress of flickering screens surrounding him like a digital cathedral of deceit. The neon glow from the city seeped through the single grimy window, casting fractured shadows over his tired face. Data streams scrolled endlessly across his monitors, a chaotic symphony of numbers, faces, and lines of code that refused to align with the narrative he'd been fed. For days, Alex had chased leads deeper into the labyrinth of the livestream platform's back-end, peeling back layers of encryption and propaganda. Tonight, the pieces began to fall into a disturbing pattern. The votes that dictated life and death, the public spectacle that had entranced millions, were not the democratic outpouring of justice or curiosity as he had once believed. They were carefully choreographed illusions manipulated by a hidden elite who wielded control like puppeteers in a shadow play. His fingers trembled as he decrypted another file, the screen revealing a network of algorithms designed not to tally genuine votes, but to steer them, to manufacture consensus. Vote manipulation, he muttered under his breath, the words tasting bitter. The public's voice was a ghost, a facade maintained to keep the masses pacified and entertained while control remained firmly in the hands of those who profited from the chaos. The door to his apartment chimed softly. Alex glanced up to see Elliot Crane slip inside, the former livestream host turned whistleblower. Elliot's eyes were sharp, reflecting a mix of exhaustion and fierce resolve. "I've got more," he said, dropping a data chip onto the cluttered table. They don't just rig votes, they erase histories, scrub victims from memory. They rewrite reality itself. Together, they plunged into the files, piecing together a mosaic of corruption that spread like rot through the media empire. Each revelation tightened the noose around their hopes. The more Alex uncovered, the clearer it became that the system was designed not just to entertain but to control, to fracture society into voyeurs and pawns. Meanwhile, Lila sat alone in a small apartment bathed in the eerie glow of multiple screens broadcasting the upcoming vote. Her reflection flickered across the glass as she watched the public's reactions, a frenzy of excitement, morbid curiosity, and blind trust in a process that was anything but fair. Fear gnawed at her, but so did defiance. She wasn't ready to be a casualty in this spectacle. Alex reached out to her through a secure channel, their voices low whispers amid the digital storm. "They're controlling the vote, Lila. It's not real. We have to fight this, expose it before it's too late." She swallowed hard, the weight of her fate pressing down. But how? They're everywhere. Watching, listening. The detective's jaw clenched. We find their weakness. Every system has one. Days later, Alex found himself initiating a clandestine call with a media executive whose name was whispered in the darkest corners of the industry. The connection was encrypted, voices distorted, but the tension unmistakable. "You think you can stop the stream, the spectacle," the executive sneered. "The public needs this. We give them what they want and they give us control in return." Alex's voice was steady, cold. "Control built on lies will crumble, and I'm here to bring it down." As the call ended, a storm of questions raged in his mind. How far could he push before the system struck back? How many lives would be caught in the crossfire? And most haunting of all, could the truth ever truly set them free in a world addicted to illusion? The city outside pulsed with neon life, indifferent to the battles waged in the shadows. Alex knew the coming days would test every ounce of his resolve. The manipulated reality they lived in was fragile, but it was also deadly, and the countdown to Lila's fate ticked inexorably onward. He turned back to the screens, determination hardening his gaze. If the public's voice was a lie, then he would be the one to shatter the illusion no matter the cost. And as the first tendrils of dawn crept over the horizon, Alex Mercer prepared to dive deeper into the dark heart of the system, knowing that the next step could be his last. The air in the underground safe house was thick and stale, punctuated only by the quiet tapping of keys and the low hum of aging servers. Alex and Elliot leaned over an array of decrypted files, each one a fragment of the sinister puzzle. The glow of their screens painted their faces in harsh blue light, highlighting the grim determination etched into every line. "Look here," Elliot whispered, pointing to a digital map that traced the flow of manipulated votes across the city. "They're not just rigging individual polls. They're controlling entire districts, flipping public opinion like switches." Alex frowned, absorbing the magnitude of the deception. So the system's not just corrupt, it's engineered to keep the population divided and distracted. Elliot nodded slowly. "And every live-streamed murder, every public vote, it's all part of the show. A grand performance to keep the masses hooked." The weight of the revelation pressed down on them, but retreat was not an option. They had to expose the puppeteers pulling the strings. Back in the city, Lila's eyes flicked anxiously between the screens. The vote count for her fate swirled with unnatural fluctuations, spikes and drops that defied logic. Her heart pounded in her chest, a mix of terror and rage fueling her will to survive. Suddenly, a notification popped up, a message from Alex. "I'm close. Hold on. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, desperate to believe. Outside, the city's neon heartbeat throbbed on, a dazzling mask over the dark truth lurking beneath. The battle for reality had only just begun. Hours later, Alex confronted the media executive via an encrypted channel, the digital veil between them thick with tension. "You think you're the hero," the executive snarled. "But you're just another pawn in a game bigger than you understand." Alex's reply was calm but resolute. "I'm done playing. The public deserves to know the truth." A bitter laugh echoed through the speaker. "Truth in this world. The truth is what sells, detective. And right now, your client's death is the hottest ticket in town." Alex clenched his fists, the fight burning fiercer inside him. Not for long, the call ended, leaving a charged silence. Outside, the city's neon glow flickered like a heartbeat, fragile and uncertain. Alex knew the stakes had never been higher. The manipulated reality they all lived in was unraveling, and with it, the very foundations of their society. But unveiling the truth was only the beginning. The real fight was just ahead. As the chapter closes, Alex sits back in his chair, eyes fixed on the shifting patterns across his screens. The illusion of choice has been shattered, but the consequences of that revelation remain unknown. The city pulses with digital life, unaware that the very fabric of its reality is being torn apart from within. Alex Mercer clenches his jaw, ready to face whatever comes next. The war for truth has begun, and there is no turning back. Will he have the strength to see it through? The answer hangs in the electric air, waiting to be claimed. The low hum of neon lights seeped through the cracked vents of the underground safe house, casting fractured shadows across the walls cluttered with screens and tangled cables. Alex Mercer sat hunched over a battered table, his eyes fixed on a cascade of glowing code spilling from the hacked livestream feeds. Across from him, Juno Vale, the sharp-edged former host turned whistleblower, tapped rapidly on a holographic keyboard, her electric blue undercut catching the pale light. "This is bigger than we thought," Alex murmured, eyes narrowing. "They're not just scheduling murders, they're scripting them, choreographing every moment for maximum ratings." Juno nodded, her fingers pausing for a heartbeat. "I was part of this machine once. I saw how they twisted narratives, erased inconvenient truths. When I tried to speak out, they made sure I vanished from every feed, every memory." Her voice cracked, the vulnerability beneath her tough exterior revealing itself as rain tapped steadily against the grimy window. "They don't just kill people, they kill stories, erase lives from the public consciousness." Alex leaned forward, the weight of her words sinking deep. "We have to break the cycle. If the public ever learns what they're really watching." A sudden crash echoed from the stairwell. The sharp blaring of alarms cut through the dimness, and the room flooded with red emergency lights. "They found us," Juno hissed, grabbing a data drive from the table. Without hesitation, Alex rose, motioning toward a camouflaged door behind a hanging tarp. This way, they slipped through a maze of cramped corridors, the pounding footsteps of security forces growing louder. The air was thick with tension, every breath a gamble between survival and capture. As they emerged onto a rooftop, the sprawling cityscape shimmered beneath a veil of neon haze and holographic ads. Distant drones hummed, their watchful eyes a reminder of the omnipresent surveillance. Juno exhaled deeply, clutching the data drive like a lifeline. "We need to expose them. Show the world the puppeteers behind the screen." Alex met her gaze, a fragile alliance forged in the crucible of danger and shared purpose. "Then we burned down their empire from the inside." As the rain began to fall, mingling with the electric glow of the city. The two figures stood side by side, flicker of resistance against the tide of digital manipulation and public voyeurism, threatening to consume them all. The fight for truth had only just begun. The clock was ticking, and every second brought them closer to the next scheduled murder. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that trust was a fragile commodity in this city, especially when dealing with someone like Juno. Yet, as they sifted through layers of encrypted data and manipulated livestream archives, it became clear that their alliance was the only chance to unravel the conspiracy. The media empire's reach extended deep, entwining corporate greed with public obsession, creating a spectacle where human lives were currency. Juno's insider knowledge revealed the extent of the psychological engineering used to addict. Viewers' algorithms designed not just to entertain, but to control. Each vote on a victim's fate was carefully staged, the illusion of choice masking a darker truth. The system's architects dictated outcomes to maintain their stranglehold on power. Despite her past, Juno's resolve was unshaken. "They turned me into a ghost," she said quietly, "but ghosts can haunt." Alex admired her courage, but knew the path ahead would be perilous. Every step closer to the truth risked exposure, and the media empire's enforcers were relentless. Their raid was a stark reminder. In a desperate bid, they uploaded fragments of incriminating footage anonymously to underground forums, hoping to ignite a spark of resistance. The response was mixed curiosity, denial, apathy, and it was a start. Each night, the weight of looming deadlines pressed harder. The public's appetite for spectacle showed no sign of waning, and Lila's execution date loomed like a shadow over their fragile plans. Yet amidst the chaos, moments of rare clarity emerged. On the rooftop, under the kaleidoscope of city lights and distant thunder, Alex and Juno allowed themselves a brief respite. They spoke not as hunter and hunted, but as allies bound by a shared cause. The city below seemed to pulse with both menace and possibility. "We're not just fighting for one life," Alex said, eyes scanning the horizon. "We're fighting for the soul of this place." Juno smiled faintly, her cybernetic implants catching the neon glint. "Then, let's make them remember what humanity looks like." The battle lines were drawn, and in the shadows of a city addicted to death as entertainment, two unlikely warriors prepared to challenge the very heart of the Killstream. The night thickened, carrying whispered promises of rebellion and the unyielding hope that even in a world consumed by spectacle, truth could still break through the noise. The glow of neon seeped through the slatted blinds, casting fractured pink and cyan shadows across the cluttered room where Alex Mercer sat, hunched over a mess of holographic data streams and flickering screens. The stale air reeked faintly of burnt coffee and old electronics, a scent that had become the perfunctory backdrop to his nights spent chasing ghosts in the digital haze. Lila stood nearby, her gaze fixed on the countdown clock projected against the grimy wall. 24 hours, 17 minutes, 39 seconds. Each tick was a hammer blow to the fragile hope clinging to Alex's gut. The scheduled murder loomed closer, a grotesque spectacle with a voting public eagerly awaiting their grim entertainment. "We don't have much time," Alex muttered, rubbing a hand over his face. "Every second that passes, more people tune in, more votes pour in. It's like feeding a fire with gasoline." Lila's voice was steady but low, laced with a brittle edge. "They think it's entertainment, but it's real. I'm real, and if we don't stop this, I'm dead." The room's silence was shattered by the sudden buzz of a secure comlink. Alex grabbed the device's slim, matte black handset with encrypted channels and answered. "Mara," the The voice crackled, urgent and sharp. "I've found a way in. The algorithm that controls the vote, it's not just rigged, it's a labyrinth designed to keep the public addicted. They're manipulating every spike in viewer engagement to maximize spectacle. How soon can you get us access?" Alex asked, already standing, adrenaline sharpening his focus. "I'm working on it, but they've upped security since your last move. Expect drones and digital shadows. We're not just fighting a system, we're fighting a fortress." Alex glanced at Lila, whose eyes reflected a mixture of fear and determination. "We don't have a choice." The city outside throbbed with life, a pulsing heart of neon and noise where the lines between reality and screen blurred until indistinguishable. True crime live streams had become the apex of entertainment, a digital coliseum where human life was the ultimate commodity and public voyeurism reigned supreme. That night, Alex and Lila slipped through the tangled streets, the cold bite of rain mixing with the electric haze. The vaporwave glow of billboards and holographic ads flickered as they ducked into shadowed alleys. Suddenly, the whir of surveillance drones sliced through the air. Alex's heart pounded. "They're onto us," he whispered. They sprinted, footsteps echoing against slick pavement, weaving through the urban maze. Each corner brought new threats-marked vans, digital eyes tracking every move. The omnipresent hum of the media empire's surveillance net tightening. Reaching a nondescript door, pulsing faintly with blue light, they slipped inside the underground lair where Mara waited. Surrounded by a forest of cables and screens, the air buzzed with raw energy and desperation. "We're running out of time," Mara said, fingers flying as streams of code scrolled past. "I'm in the back end now, but the system is fighting me every step. This algorithm isn't just controlling votes, it's controlling minds. The public's addiction isn't an accident, it's engineered." Alex leaned in, watching the data unfold. "If we can disrupt this, maybe we can shift the narrative. Stop the countdown." "Maybe," Mara replied, voice taut with uncertainty. "But if they detect this breach, they'll come down hard. No more shadows, no more hiding." Back on the streets, the public's digital feed exploded with activity. Viewer counts skyrocketed, polarized comments clashed in a virtual storm, and the anticipation for Lila's fate grew into a menacing crescendo. The digital crowd was a living beast, hungry for the spectacle, blind to the humanity at its center. Alex's mind raced. The clock was relentless, the stakes impossibly high. Every move could tip the balance between salvation and slaughter. As the first faint light of dawn crept over the city, Alex exchanged a glance with Lila. The countdown was no longer just a number, it was a sentence. "We have to make them see," Alex said quietly. "Make them understand what this really is." Lila nodded, her voice a whisper carried on the cold morning air. "Before it's too late." And somewhere deep in the labyrinth of code and screens, the algorithm pulsed, waiting for its moment to claim its prize. The race against time had begun, and the city held its breath.